Hey, what's going on, everyone? And welcome to the Deceptilab. This your boy, Mr. Wednesday Night, Freezy is Max. And yeah, as you can see, we back to our regular, our regularly scheduled time. So, um, glad to be here. I realized going back to the Wednesday schedule, man, it's a little bit easier. So, um, yeah, definitely glad to be back in my time slot. Basketball season over, stuff like that. And so, anyway, we're gonna get to it. We going got a couple of topics to talk about today. So I want to go and take a look at Fireglide and Enerax. Um, there was a change that I kind of predicted last stream that I figured that would be the way that it would go. It did go that way. So now we'll kind of talk about how you can try to maximize Fireglide and Enerax. They are coming to the game this week as part of the event. And I actually want to talk about the event a little bit because is this the way they're designing this particular event? Is that actually a good change? I know some other thoughts of some of my followers on Discord and everything like that. I want to see what you guys think, but we'll talk about it in a little bit. I also want to talk a little bit about the bots that I didn't get to show on the 5-star batch last week. And, I kind of talked about it. I woke up the next day after the stream and everybody was showing a bunch of pictures from another stream. And I was like, all right, man, like, they was like, how come you didn't show us more information? But it was more just like, well, I'll walk y'all through that in a little bit. I actually got a story about that, but um, yeah, we'll talk about what I think about the batch so far. Maybe do a little bit of playing around, some little gameplay with some of the 5-star bots, and I also want to take a look at Barricade and Drift. They're part of the Legacy batch too, and it's from what I've seen so far, it's looking pretty good. We'll get your opinion on it, see what you think. So before we do any of that, let's flip over to the newsletter. And I gotta scroll back to the top of this thing. All right, so this weekend's event is called the Nemesis. I said they should have had that like a while back ago, but all right. Um, so yeah, the weekend event. It's week 4, so we got our 50K event, individual totalizer, and the prizes in here overall look really good. So you can get a 4-star Enerax or Fireglide, uh, 2K of your 5-star combat shards. I'm always looking forward to those. 200K premium combat chips. I'm always looking forward to those. 650K of combat spark. So that's pretty up there. 300K spark. 6K of 4-star shards, 12K of 3-star shards, and 100K premium shards. So here is the prize chart. And this is one of the things that I'm going to get through the newsletter first, but I do want to know you guys' opinion in the chat. So when you look at this chart, one of the things that you can see is that it takes you quite a bit to get a 3-star chip. You got that at 25K, and then you get the 4-star at 50K, which means you're really going to be pushing to event completion to get that 4-star combat Let me know in the chat what you think about that part. I know, like I said, we had a discussion about it in Discord earlier today. I'll tell you my thoughts after you share yours in the chat. Typical battle zones. And let's see. Text does what text does. Put together the graphics. One of my good friends, and one of my teammates over at the Horde, and he put together those graphics, and just so you can see all the stats and stuff like that. Tell how much combat spark is going to take and everything like that. And he also gave his opinion about the bots. And really, what he was saying, he said, depends on your war league. He's saying that if it's a 5-star, that's what you're gonna need for probably for Prime League and Cyber. Um, I do think you can get away with the 4-star in Prime League and Cyber. However, the problem is going to be, and the problem I'm running into a lot of times when I get good 4-stars is it's going to be combat spark, and so that's a little bit of advice that he's given in there, which ultimately at the end of the day, he's got a really really good point. He's saying if you want to use a 4-star for Caminus, Platinum, stuff like that, it's cool, but make sure you read that, and and obviously you can check out my stream today and last week's stream to try to see if you can base your opinion off of it. All right, so one of the controversies toward the end of last year, the research slot did have it had a really really hefty cost. It was at 15K coins. This is now going to be reduced to 5K coins, and they're going to actually issue refunds for anybody that bought it for the 15K. I think I think that's great. I think that was a smart move by Space Ape. I mean, it was overpriced. So now, when you look at things, this takes this bundle, or take the bundles that you would normally go buy in order to get those many coins. That took it from being approximately $60 to go buy the fourth research lab slot. Um, it changes it from that to about $20. So yeah, and it always, if they were going to charge cash for it, it always should have been somewhere around that area. Let's be honest. So, good job on Space 8 for correcting that problem. As you guys saw last week, Huffer and Lockdown, they're pretty much done. Um, they'll be coming to the game soon. I imagine that when you look at that event chart, that's probably going to be the event that's going to pop up for it. They were looking really good. I showed them last week if you missed it on the live stream. And then, like I said, we got Drift and Barricade coming as part of the Legacy batch as well. And so, yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. The ability they got a where he enters an enraged state, and we'll talk about that one in a little bit because it's um it's pretty cool. I did not realize that they had the heading for Drift and Barricade up there twice. I I probably just kind of skipped past it. I probably figured it was me. Yeah, it's up there twice. All right, and there is a survey up right now, and I'll probably actually take a look at that. Like I opened it earlier today, but I didn't finish it, and I know some of the guys in my Discord were talking about it. So let's see what's talking about. That might actually be a good conversation piece, so I probably can mirror that to my screen, and we can look at that in a little bit as well. Make sure you check out all of your content creators. The official ones are Engineer Hoist, myself, Soldier, and Sunstreak Awaza. And make sure you check them out. And now we got a little bit of space between some of us because I said I know most of the time Waza's on Thursday, I'm on Wednesday. You know, Hoist I've been seeing a lot more, I think, on the Fridays and stuff like that. So it was kind of perfect flow into the weekend, and I jacked it up by being on Thursdays. And though some people seem to like it, I saw a lot of people on both streams, so that was cool. All right, so the saga schedule, and I want to talk about this a little bit more in a bit too, because one of the things that people were talking about on Discord this afternoon is they were saying, "Hey man, like because we got this individual endurance event for the legacy batches and stuff like that, that's putting a lot of big events just really, really close together." So I know when Space 8 first went to this schedule, they always wanted the 50K to always be on the fourth week. Um, I not totally sure the reasoning for that because the saga start off easy. It's 500k, 10k, 500k, and then 50k. Which honestly, now that I'm using a lot of my or 13, it hasn't been bad. I'll see how that goes when we get to the event on Friday. But yeah, there's so many easy events, and then they got the larger ones. But the larger ones, a couple of them are individual, so we'll talk about it. All right, some neat artwork there in the community corner. Oh boy, so they said it Ruin Nation and God Neptune. Someone saying they had reports about the God Sting radius having been reduced. They're saying that's been fixed. I hadn't experienced anything like that. Like my God Neptune has been on point. So uh, I don't know who reported that, but hopefully it don't break anything when they. And then Horse and Crankcase. Now I did suspect that this was the case, and I never got around to actually checking it out. But Horse and Crankcase seemed like their healing was a little bit low to me, and I meant to go numbers crunch it to go try to check it out. But somebody beat me to it, so yeah, they were restoring less health than intended. Supposedly that's been fixed, and they also had a visual bug. I guess it's like his head was floating around or something like that. That's been fixed. And tomorrow is going to be the Space Ape team stream. So that is it for the news. Make sure you join them on their stream tomorrow so you can ask all of the questions that you want to ask. All right, so we are going to go take a look in the chat. Let me see if I can find the top of the chat first. So I can't see it now, but I do know that Jettison C4 was in here first, my good friend and fellow content creator buddy. Um, Make sure you guys check him out, and thanks for joining. Um, as well as the Mercenary Terror, who, if you guys didn't know, it was yesterday? Yesterday, I think, was Mercenary Terror's birthday. So happy birthday to you, buddy. I said it to you yesterday, but happy belated birthday from everybody else. And thanks for being a great content creator and moderator. We got the homie Lumega 123 in there. Thanks for joining again. Michael Cooper's with us again, as well as good friend and member Esclohasi is in there. So thanks for joining, guys. Another fellow friend and content creator, Big Blade, is joined as well. Says he might come back in a little bit later. He got some stuff going on, but yeah, I appreciate you for stopping in, saying hi, and hopefully I can see you later on in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, I already got him. Mercenary Terror says, "Happy birthday to me. Nobody came to my party." Let's see. E Rods is with us again. Thanks for joining, E Rods. All right. And let's skip past. I see my good friend and member Candyman is in here. Thanks for joining, Candyman. Um, and I was just reading the comment. Michael Cooper says 50k is too high. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Alpha Tryon 1 is with us again. Thanks for joining. And speak of the devil, Texas Hammer is in here. What's up, Tex? And honestly, Tex is making the point that I was going to make later on. Um, it is it is guaranteed when you go into this event, and that's actually one of the points I want to talk about. So when we talk about this event, and when I talk about the combat bot a little bit more, um, that's one of the main points we want to talk about. So what's of more value to you? Is it more value that it's going to be guaranteed and not the chance crystals, or is it going to be of more value that a I could just go play for shorter amounts of time and potentially get an opportunity to go get the 4-star. And honestly, it's going to be two different groups of players that logic applies to. So, like I said, I'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, and to your point, like Mercenary Terror saying he can't even get off of 7K because he's restarted his game is in HQ 10 right now. Yeah, and Tech says it's a good change. He like LB to endurance. Jettison C4 says put the 5-star variant at 50K. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna come back to some of these comments. Let me go make sure I greet everybody first because there's a lot of people in there with their with their thoughts on the event schedule. Which reminds me, I actually got a video I need to drop out about that because I never dropped the one that I had with in that interview with Dale. Oh, and Soldier's in the chat too. So if you guys haven't checked out any of his content, he's one of our fellow official content creators. Check him out as well. And Soldier says, actually, and it's actually kind of ticking me off. So we got this thing going on where we're we're trying to go get new loot links. Soldier asked for him. I asked for him. We want to hand out more loot links. So um, yeah, so that's kind of what we face with right now, particularly for my members, because I'm supposed to be giving out members. Um, I'm supposed to be giving them out to members every month, which would have been next month, or would have been tomorrow to start next month. So yeah, we just want to keep fighting that fight, Soldier. Hopefully, we get all our stuff. And yeah, and then of course my good friend and fellow teammate J Funk just joined us as well. Thanks for joining J Funk. All right, I'm gonna go make the screen a little bit bigger and get rid of a couple screens. So I want to talk about this combat bot because obviously we got a lot to say about it in the chat, and that's good, man. I like generating conversation like that because it does help. It does help with how how we feel about the game, how we want to proceed with the game and stuff like that, right? So here's Fireglide, and like I showed you last week, he does some pretty good stuff, man. 32% increased health, grants additional healing. This is the maxed out 5-star version, so it's 20% from all sources, as well as a plus 20 DPS when the bot takes elemental damage. Upon death, he's going to turn into a minion with with the maxed out version, 12,096 health, and all of those additional effects that it has in regards to like the healing and health will transfer over to the combat bot. So it's pretty sweet combat bot. But I want to go back and look at some of the comments from when we were talking about this event because and actually I'm gonna go back to the newsletter and grab it real quick because the specific things that I think are kind of a problem for people are really like I said, like so when you go look at this price chart and you guaranteed that 4-star combat chip, I'll be honest with you, my first thought, knowing that I was going to complete the event more likely than not, especially now that I learned how to play events a little bit faster. I've got plenty of OR 13 and everything running. You know, I fully intend to complete this and get the 4-star, right? So but then there's other players up there, maybe your lower tier, like Merc Terra gave the example that hey man, I'm HQ 10, I'm not gonna be able to compete. And one of the things that always comes up is like, well, do you hold everybody else back to try to accommodate the players at the lower levels? And there's times where we do, there's times where we don't, right? But there was one argument that was made, and I'm going to switch back over to the battlefield. There's one argument that was made, or it wasn't really an argument. We were just having a conversation, and one of the things that was said was, if I go into if I go into an endurance event, right, and I'm getting an actual bot, an actual bot that I can go into the game, that I can actually get Spark for on a regular basis, that I can, I can go play the game and level them up. If you go get an actual bot, you could get them for 37.5K. But then in turn, when we're gonna get a combat who we don't necessarily have all the resources for right away, that you're gonna have to, with reason, you got to be strategic about what you go spend your combat spark on and stuff like that. So now the price point for a combat is, what is that, 12.5K more than the cost of a 4-star bot. And so I think that's the kind of things that I hadn't actually thought about it, and it's probably because I was just too busy the last few days. But that was a really, really good point. I said that it costs more to go get a 4-star combat that you may or may not even use. You might wait until it comes out later on. And I think that's one of those things that might need to be addressed. Now, me personally, I always felt like if you're gonna go do multiple endurance events, they could do a combat endurance event, and then you could do a bot endurance event, and then it meets all of the intent. So then you can keep it relatively consistent with how well you value bots. Or you could even do it a little bit less. But instead, what happened is we started doing endurance for the legacy batch, which honestly I'm not averse to, because this 50K event and the legacy batch event, those are individual events. So at the end of the day, you still have that choice to not play in that. So I don't know. With all that said, what do you guys think? Is that the right move to have a guaranteed 4-star at the end of the event? Let me know in the chat again if you hadn't already. Hey, look, I was just looking at some of the conversation between Merc Terror and Jettison C4 early in the chat. Y'all, wow, man. And by the way, that's that's rolling on the floor laughing is what that meant, Merc. Yeah, I said, I know you not always on the internet like that. Let's see. Merc asking for kill Bison G1. So let's see. Yeah, so and it's going back to where I was at. Like I was looking at what Tex was saying, and he was like, "Yeah, you know, with the chance events, a lot of people, and I've seen it go both ways, right? I've seen where somebody their first crystal they opened was the 4-star, and they didn't play the rest of the weekend, or maybe they did, and just it was just like, all right, well, I know everything else is just extra at this point. And then I've seen where guys coined their way through the whole event, like in the first day, hoping they get their new combat and not get anything. So it it does suck to go play through in the whole event and not get the combat. So for a lot of guys that are definitely going to complete the event, yeah, they definitely going to look forward to having it be guaranteed. And honestly, one of the things that I noticed too is when you had that guaranteed combat bot at the end, the prizes improved quite a bit. Because there've been times where I saw prizes and they was like, "Oh, well, you're opening all of these crystals, so you'll get it back that way." And there's still a good amount of crystals in this event. Don't get me wrong, but because you had chance crystals on top of that, a lot of times the events just weren't as good as they could be, even though everybody's excited to get combat spark and chips. So yeah, and to your point, same thing. Like I was saying, Tex. Not sure why they don't put the 5-star in the event. Maybe at like 60K. I mean, I I think that would be appropriate. And to your point, um, you said if they would put a 5-star in the event, some people at our level will be like, "Hey, I'll go do it for the 5-star." I personally do the 50Ks, and then I'm starting to do the endurance events, and I'm doing those for the sole purpose of the 50K. I just want my combat spark more than anything else. I'm probably gonna knock it out in a day, and that's like the only thing I'm really spending money on these days. I've been budgeting a lot closely, not just because any negative attitude or feelings towards the game. I'm just budgeting just for general purposes, and that's one of the things that I started looking at was well, I have to go spend on every event because I get tired doing events, you know. So I just try to get through it quickly. Anyway, when I'm looking at Fireglide and Enerax, um, so the major change that came this go around is that last week when I was showing it, we had it equipable to the warrior class bots. They're not equipable to the warrior class anymore. That got changed. I told you guys that probably would get changed, but I think that I think that's the right move. I think warriors would have been way overpowered. If you didn't see my stream last week, one of the things I was talking about is I was actually talking about my primary warrior that I use on my war team, and that is bludgeon, which is um, Ironhide for you guys on the Autobot side. And you run into problems, you run into stuff like this, man. Like this dude got that G1 core, and it's already given him a substantial amount of health. Now I ain't even got this one ranked up to captain or anything, but you go add that combat bot to him with another 32%. You're talking about this dude being over 70k in health, and him, Pipes, Headstrong are already very, very powerful in the game. But with Bludgeon, you could actually add even more health if you decided to use his G1. So now you just got all that stacking on each other. And to be honest with you, when we started talking about it in playtest, I brought that up. A couple other playtesters brought it up. It's just not a good idea. If this would have been the time period before we had the max health boost, yeah, but sure knock yourself out at that point. Uh, but that's not something you can use on warriors now. So it's a bunch of different bots you can use it on now. And a lot of the conversation became on the melee class, the melee special class bots. And so that's where a lot of the focus went because, to be honest, for a lot of these bots, their pathing sucks. It's tough. Depending on walk speeds and stuff like that. Like, what I'm saying? When I look at T2 Megatron, Half Shell, as great as bots they are, they can't get into trouble pathing wise. So I've been correcting a lot of that with combat bots and stuff like that. But if you can use some of these bots with the new combat. I'm actually curious to see how that works out because I hadn't used it on my half shell yet, so I'm gonna go in the battle and check that out. Hopefully, it's an update on this new UI on the Space Ape stream tomorrow. I know Dale was excited about it, and I think it's probably time for him to say something else about that. Hopefully, it comes out soon. I know when we were talking about it in the interview, it was coming up close on the time. Because, dude, it's like some of these animations and stuff for and waiting screens, man, have just gotten ridiculous. Oh, that's Acid Storm Spot. Hey, man, look like this thing might have froze on me real quick. Alright, so let me go back to the lab. Let me reset that screen. And while I'm doing that, I'll take a look at what's going on in the chat. I know I just saw J Funk says that he's going to put the new bot on to Half Shell once he has the 5-star version. And I don't like doing this. I actually don't like putting combat bots on just to fix to try to fix like a problem. I like to highlight a strength. And but in this case, that's what I've been using Lancelot on it just for the sole purpose of Lancelot for you Autobots. That's Buzz Strike. Um, but I've been using that for the sole purpose of just keeping them from running away. And I hate doing that, man. That's why I wish it was something they would actually do in game to fix some of the melee special class bots. But at least they are some of them starting to get, you're starting to get some better combat bot choices out there, so that helps. Tech says I am where that I'm where he was like a few years ago. Yeah, of course. I mean, like I said, I started like I told you in the team chat the other day. I started playing competitively uh not that long ago. Well, it's probably been about a year and a half, 2 years now, some shit like that. So yeah, so it's still certain aspects that I'm behind in. But I assume you were talking about the events part. Yeah, as for, in regards to the events, like honestly, I don't like the event that hard, but because I found ways to do it more efficiently, that a lot of you guys were already telling me, hey, do it this way, but I was still scrambling for other stuff. I was still using on my ore to try to get combats and stuff. Now that my team is pretty well set, and I'm still building up some of the newer combats and stuff, I'm honestly not worried about it. But I want to start to try to build some of my stockpile a little bit. Mm. Yeah, King Grimlock, another one of our playtest buddies says 4 star at 50k is absurd. Combats barely work on D, and so and that's another good point though. But like it's a big ask for 50k for a 4 star when you compare it to bots. So it's still talking more stuff about Bison. See, and Tech said something that I was thinking that I hadn't actually said. If you need 70k, if you need 70k HP uh, on pipes, you're doing something wrong, and that's true. But like I was saying, and I was telling somebody in playtest the other day, it's not the fact that people shouldn't need to do it. It's the fact that you can do it, and somebody eventually will do it. And, and it's usually going to be somebody who doesn't have the necessarily have the tactics that they need at the top level, and they're gonna say, "Hey, I got this bot that's got 70 something k, and I'm invincible now." Do you actually need it? No, you don't. Like, I mean, I'm not even using headstrong. I'm using bludgeon, bro. You don't need that. And you like, I know you were having a conversation with me earlier about Warpath and Skull Smasher. You really don't need it when you got them because you're taking out all the build bots very, very early. So you just got free reign. Yeah, you don't need that. And I actually just want to take a look at, and I'm gonna throw a healer that back behind him to see how he works with this new combat. Like I said, that's the 5 star version. And a lot of what we were talking about too was like last week I was talking about selecting power cores to go around with it. But honestly, because he's a melee, um, he actually lasted pretty decent up there in that prime zone battle. I actually want to go take a look at something Tex was talking about in the newsletter because I always been a huge fan of Impactor in this game, and one of the things he was talking about is he had paired him up with Alchemist Core. So I actually want to take a look at that because I didn't try that myself. And like for me, I was carrying it on my Micronus carrier, primarily because that's where I felt like I was going to be able to fit it at on my team. I always try to go for the team synergy aspect first, but I mean a really good. It is a really good. It's a really good combat. Now, just for testing purposes, I'm gonna take this G1 half shell off, which honestly, at this stage in the game, I don't need. I'd use it because I feel like I'm gonna probably need it at some point. But right now, I honestly don't. But I got it maxed out and ready to go anyways. Uh, so that's my bonus. Oh, you know what? That's Onyx. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to try that on him. I wanted to try it on Impactor. So I'm gonna take half shell out, put Impactor in. Alright, so cool. So new combat. And the thing is, it's like, and one of the reasons why that was so intriguing to me because when I first, when I first, stopped using Impactor, it was probably around the time where I got it late, but I got Quellagon, you know, and I was looking at Quellagon and Twin Twist, and I say how well they actually pair with the Amalgamous Core, and but it also pairs really well with Impactor, and I was like, man, I gotta find something new to use with this thing that might be cool. So I always look for different ways, even though I don't use them as much anymore. I got them maxed out, so I don't use them in events and stuff like that as much as I used to. But I still like the dude. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna try Alchemist. Now I will say this: I do personally prefer Alchemist with some kind of area of effect ability. So like if I got something like and you guys know my favorite combo, my favorite pairing in the game probably right now, um, is to use Alchemist on Knockout with Fireline. So so for all you guys up there, if you guys are Autobots, and I know if you hadn't seen it, I always like to go use Top Shot and on skids with that Alchemist core because it allows me to go free up a Nightstick or a Fracas elsewhere on my team. So now I can just continue to have healing throughout the team. That's the main reason why I do it, is because I based everything off of trying to heal constantly. So a lot of people will criticize me for not using that knockout G1, and I was like, well, I don't need it because I got my I got my fracas occupied elsewhere. So I really like it. J Funk says, "Ladies love the fire Clyde." I say, man, that is a funny sounding name, especially when you say it like that. Oh man. Tex said he made Wassa he made Wassa go get Warpath and level them. I can see that. I know how bossy you can be, so I know how that conversation probably went too, and it's hilarious. I probably do it. I tell you what, I do actually want to get him at this point, and I probably do it at some point. I just want to do it um, after I go get at least my current war team, get them to captain. Then I probably do it because I'm not gonna say I'm not interested in the current 5-star batch that's coming out. Um, I'm just not in a rush to go get it. Now, I know it's all been a bunch of different opinions about like not carrying everything to captain, but I'm carrying my stuff to captain. I'm almost done, honestly, and so then I might go rummaging through some batches for old stuff that I didn't get yet. Just amazing, because to your point, it is easier. I watch you guys' replays all the time, you and a couple of other teammates. It is much easier. But dude, I actually do really like this pairing a lot though, because I didn't even throw the heal out there yet, so you can start getting some additional healing. And he's got some, even though he's got FFD on him right now, but he does have his little shield when he's not surrounded by FFD. Dude, dude. If I would have actually played that correctly, that's about as good as the Amalgamist core, or at least it appears that way. I ain't crunched no numbers, but yeah, that's pretty dope. And said my moderator and good friend Fox the Bomb is in there. Says he's waiting on a 5-star knockout. Right now it's on Dirge. Yeah, that 70% blocking is huge. And then and right now I'm just kind of BSing around. But like, if I was trying to like actually get through it, I probably would have played that a lot smarter and get some of the build bots down. But I like to see worst case scenarios when I'm testing stuff too. So like, hey man, I'm getting affected by FFD. Like, can I survive that? And dude, it looked pretty good. So I'm definitely gonna enjoy that new combat. I have the 4-star. I probably won't level the 4-star right away, but well, I probably won't level them at all. Depends on how long it takes before that 5-star comes out. But we'll see. I think I'll wait for the 5-star, and then I mean he's a good solid combat. That's honestly kind of fun. So let's see. Um, so I wanted to take a little bit of a look at some of the 5-star batch bots that I didn't talk about last week, and like I had the 4-star versions. So this is what happened. And Tex, I'm actually glad you're here because I know this morning I was talking about. I got in playtest this morning and I said, "Hey man, I need a bunch of XP, and I need it because my game is running really slow when I try to go get XP in there, right?" And I think everybody thought because what happened is Space 8 was supposed to have given us all they're supposed to have given us the 5-star bots and leveled them up to like level 60 for us, right? And I looked in, I was like, hey, I didn't get my bots yet. And at some point I believe I had message in there asking for it to get leveled. So I didn't get my stuff leveled. And so I was like, all right. So I actually went through the entire process, even though it was taking like 30 seconds a shot for me to go add XP. I did that for all 5 bots, or for 4 of the bots, because I already had some of them maxed. And then I realized the day that I didn't have Waspinator, and I'm sitting there waiting on this stuff so I can test. So I went to go look at Tigerhawk and see that he's been leveled. Then I look at Whirl and he's been leveled. And then I look at Inferno and he's been leveled. And I was like, shoot, man. They never gave me the Decepticon versions. They never leveled them for me. So then I wound up leveling them myself. And that's kind of where we ended up at. So that's why I was asking for all the additional XP so I could just do all that stuff quickly and resume testing. So yeah, it was pretty. It's been a pretty slow testing process for me as a result because I didn't realize that they gave me the Autobot versions. I probably would have just used them. But um, one of the things we were talking about on Discord earlier this week is it's like I didn't show any stats for anything. I mean, like first off, I say I don't always rush to show everything just because it is still in testing, and stuff might change, but it probably won't change a whole bunch. So let me go get a couple of let me see if I actually got a couple of XP in there. Because I was leveling them before the stream even. And see, yes, this takes a long time. Let's see. He said probably all those coins clogging it up. Yeah, I know, right? I see Big Joe joined the chat. Thanks for joining, Big Joe. All right, so I'll leave him right there at 67. Get him, get him war capable. I said some people in the chat always insisted that the game is trying to tell me that I joined the wrong faction all the time. But then that same person joined the Decepticon Alliance, so what is the game really trying to tell us? So overall, like and I say this is Texas boy right here. You know that Rodimus Unicronus and Inferno. Honestly, this is probably the most ready I've seen a bot just when just entering the batch. The most ready I've seen a 5 star to be able to push forward in a while. Like he's good to go. Um, Now I just got him at 67 right here, so you know the stats will go up a little bit more. Right now I currently got him at corporal. But when you go give him that ability 11, so now we're talking about adding another 10% to all damage. And the cool thing about him is I like using him because you know not you increasing just normal damage and ability damage. Um, Now I know when I was talking about it last week with some folks, one of the things they were saying is like, well, you used to be able to stack his ability, um, and so now you can't do that, and he sucks. And I was like, that's not that's the furthest thing from the truth. But but yeah, so um, and I never understood why this dude didn't catch on because when I look at it from the standpoint of damage is good, you're getting ground damage and you're getting ability damage. So you would figure like this is something that people will really, really enjoy. But it turns out that's not the case. Um, Not for everyone at least. It's a bunch of people that do like them. Um, I like them a lot as Rodimus Unicronus. I'm just not sure. I would have to I would have to build a team around him to make it work, which honestly isn't difficult. King Grimlock says the first rule about Inferno is don't talk about Inferno. I said, hey man, Inferno out here like Fight Club G. Like that's crazy. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna let Bludgeon take the lead. And it's just so many different options, especially with as many of these bots with good range in the game. But it's just so many. Like this is the combo of all combos, if you ask me. Like it's like Rodimus Unicronus, Inferno, and honestly, fucking anybody. Like, especially if they got good range, man. Like, bro, this dude is awesome. And a lot of people, like at one point, it was like people didn't like it. They was like, "Oh, he's too squishy." Oh, he rushes in, and it started to sound like a bunch of excuses, man. Because I was like, the dude is really about that life. So if there's something I want to go for in this batch, it's probably him. And yeah, it's definitely him. Um, but I also am curious about some of them. I'm curious about Sea Phantom and Whirl, and I showed some of the changes up there with the 4 star last week. But then I started looking at some of the stats, and I said, shit, like this might work out pretty good. So let's see. Let me look in the chat, and it says, yeah, yeah, Big Joe, you had just actually joined right after I had looked at the um, right after I had looked at the new combat. Let's see, Jettison Sea Forces is Rod U stack with Tarn. Honestly, let me go take a peek because I think the only thing they stopped was him stacking with itself. You know, if I'm being honest. But that'd be honestly, that'd be a massive like combo there because I guess it depends on what you're using it on. Because if you're using it for like the special class and you're using it for damage, anything like that, or for the air class for ability damage, we can try it out, see what it does. He said, "Can you stack Rodimus?" Nah, I don't think he's stacked with any of the combiners and stuff. It'll take too long for them to transform and shit like that. Actually, you know what I wanted to do? I know the perfect test to run on this. I'm gonna actually back out of this real quick. I'm gonna use the same test that I was running last week when I was just trying to use like that 4-star rod U and try to go get me a shielded target on the base trial. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Alright, so let's go back for a second. And I'm gonna do this demo, but I also want to show you guys. I still want to show you guys the changes that happened with Barricade. So let's see. Hmm, I think I can run this test with C Phantom, especially knowing what I know about him, and it'll be a good chance to show off his ability anyway. Actually, I can't do that with the Tarn part because he's a gunner. So let me try something real quick. Yes, I see Jettison C4 is a huge fan of Tarn. Uh, I'm always excited when they add new concepts to the game, and I thought I was excited about him, and then I just never caught on the using them as effectively as I could. And if I put some time into it, into looking at different combos for him, it'll probably be awesome. And definitely not saying anything about Tarn, but like negative or anything. But I definitely need more practice even after the time and play test with him. And this thing, yeah. So I definitely should have played a little bit more with Tarn and Alpha Trion. Yeah, I mean, I ran knockout with Rod U a little bit earlier, and the thing is because you using that 3 times damage against the walls and minions and outposts, it actually worked pretty well. And then of course, test server crashed again. All right, so the request I got is cast Tarn's ability, then use Blitz Wings Plasma Shroud. Well, what's that? But that doesn't do any damage though, does it? It just is just for the slowdown. Oh, not slowdown, but the debuff. I thought we already had that conversation, and I don't know. I have to, I have to try it. All right, I know what I want to try. Let's see. because I know that he's a little on the weaker side compared to the current meta, I'd like to actually try Blast Off. Now let's do the same thing I did like last week. I'll come up here with, oops, and you just keep this shielded. Knowing that with his normal, with his special ability that he can't take it down. Now last week I was trying it with 4-star Rodimus Unicronus. Let me try it with the 5-star, see what the result is first. I might have to actually pull the power core or something like that. Alright, so right now, still can't do it. So let's try it with Tarn and with Rodimus Unicronus, the gauge, the stack. Mm-mm-mm. But while I'm thinking about it, I actually want to go look at each of these 5-star bots individually, and I probably do like one of my, like I used to always do back in the day, do a con highlight video on these bots. So look for that soon. That looked like that was more this time, and I'm not sure. Let me go look and see what power core I had, because it didn't completely do it. So I wonder if that stack worked. I don't know why test server keep crashing. But I mean, we talk every day. I'll actually I'll actually try it later on when this thing isn't crashing and get back to you. Let's see what's going on in the chat. So Alpha Trion 1 says I use Inferno and Rodimus Prime on Prime Rush team, call it Prime Bombing. Shoot, that's actually a good idea too. Rod you and Impactor, because it's one of those things like power creep kind of got Impactor a little bit down the stretch. All right, let's see. Now I actually want to take a look at Sea Phantom and Whirl, because I actually like stat wise, I actually like this a lot. And I was telling you guys last week that they made the rockets do fire damage, and then the acid throw was still doing acid damage. One of my major concerns was always that the Autobot version didn't have acid, so that's been addressed. And honestly, I think it's pretty good, man. I mean, you got a gunner class, but pretty good damage. I mean, like almost some of the higher just base damage in the game. Like I'm running calibers right now just for general purposes. Um, and then I'm running that volatile mixture, which brings it up to a little over 10k for the fire rockets, and then almost 7.1k there for the acid. So I'll run that in battle, see what that looks like. I do like it though. I mean, plus you got the opportunity to self combo. It's got decent range. Huh, that would actually be interesting. Alpha Trion 1 says he'd like to see me, Waz, and Tex do a top 5 for each brown core. That would actually be interesting because I know for a fact that that my list would be different, like way different. But it's always stuff that I can support. It's always stuff that I can say, well, this is the reason why under certain conditions. But man, like the range on this thing now is amazing. So like I actually really like Seat Phantom a lot now. Just the range alone is crazy. Oh, okay, it looks like the animations are jacked up on the animations are a little jacked up on the acid, it looks like. But yeah, like that range is awesome. And I see Daniel Evans has joined. Thanks for joining. Yeah, but that would be cool to go up there and look at the best pairings for each power core. I'm actually working on a side project. I was actually putting together because one of the things I'm doing, I'm actually in real life going into like instructional design, and one of the things I wanted to do was do kind of like a short ebook on how at least how I team build and how it worked for me in this game. You know, something just quick reference to something to stop people from being like, "Hey, man, like, oh, it won't stop them," but it's just like something you can look back at and say, "Hey, I got a new bot that does performs this particular function," and you can start to look at it and say, "This is how you compare that bot well." So that's something I was looking at. All right, let's see what else I got on here that I wanted to look at today. I know I want to look at Barricade. Oh, that's the one I didn't really get to mess around with because I didn't know I had them. I never got a chance to look at Waspinator because I still don't have them on a test account, but I do have Tiger Hawk. So I have to become an Autobot so I can show that. So I got him at 68 right now, dude. Honestly, the more that I've seen from him, it's looking pretty good. A lot of people were comparing to, and test at least, were making a comparison to Scourge and Swoop, and I guess it sounds like a lot of people might not have used them, particularly at the higher levels. I know I always see them against in lower level bases on defense because of the slowdown and stuff like that. Michael Cooper says, just make sure I wash my hands after playing with that Autobot. And like, but see, here's the thing. If I was using, if I was using, if I had the conversion, then I already got a 5-star swoop that will work up here, or a 5-star scourge. I don't have a 5-star swoop leveled on this thing, so now I just kind of gotta do what I can. Ah man, Daniel said he need 3 guys so he can start war over in the alliance called State Farm. What league do y'all play in, Daniel? You always got to give that information when you're trying to recruit. Let's see. Yeah, man, that kind of ticked me off, man, because I said I know a lot of people wanted to try. We're kind of excited about the Waspinator and Tiger Hawk pick, and then I was like, oh, there goes. I got all the Autobot versions of these. Dude, that's plenty powerful. I'm gonna have to actually try this. I'm gonna have to try this one against my own base, man, because that dude's really, really strong in the prime zone. I'm gonna need something a little bit more difficult. Actually, I need to go here. Let's see. Yeah, and I'm really just kind of just taking a look at the damage here in a hard wool or in a hard simulated hard wool. It's not bad, but of course I'm getting taken out here because I'm doing all of this right in front of anti-air turret. But yeah, no, I said I do like it a lot. I don't know if I'm going to. It's going to be something I want to pursue, but it's not bad. Like I said, I'm gonna do videos for each of the 5-star batch. Hopefully, I can. It probably won't be this weekend because I'm behind on a lot of stuff, but I'll probably be able to do it sometime next week and try to release those videos as we. Well, I'll probably wait until we get this stuff finalized. So I'll see how the playtest goes along, but I always like to do in-depth stuff when the content is finalized. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's see. So I want to swap over to. We're gonna take a look at the next bot that's gonna be in Legacy Batch 2. That's gonna be Barricade. Oh, I need to go add some spark so I can spark him up. Um. So yeah, we pretty much got locked down and Huffer all wrapped up. So now we're looking at Barricade and Drift. And I can already tell you, like, one of the things we were talking about earlier today was whether or not he needed to do that jump. I think a lot of people, that little front flip that he does, I think for the most part, folks were cool with it if you could add some kind of damage factor to it. I'm not sure where we're at on that part of things yet, but there has been a lot of progress made. So I'm gonna actually show that if I can get the test server to stop crashing. Yeah, this kind of stuff I was talking about, like when I was trying to go add in, when I was trying to add my XP, it kind of did something like this where it started going slow. So we'll see. I might just have to start it over. It's getting kind of annoying though. Yeah, I know you were having some problems with the test server earlier too, Green King Grimlock. 'Cause I know we were talking about how we were having some of the same problems with the XP stuff, and for a while today it worked pretty good, but I never really had this many problems with it. That's why I was kind of hopeful for the new UI, and I hopefully the new UI also goes into playtest as well at the same time, because I think that's going to address a lot of these issues with loading screens. Most of my stuff is with loading screens. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go in here, go into battle. And I think it seems like every time I try to back out of a screen, that's when it starts doing that stuff. All right, so let's see. Let me go in here and get some spark. But that's what I'm saying. They kept staying on the screen like this, like where it would just like be like, please wait, but it would be like 30, sometimes 40 seconds. Yeah, so I was actually I had to actually play with the Autobot side of these all these bots earlier because of like the situation I was telling you about where I didn't get all of my new stuff. So I had to just start leveling my cons today. But I want to show off my cons on stream. All right, so with Barricade and Drift, um, this new ability, they changed the name to Silent Surge. So it says enter in a rage state for 11.4 seconds, and then Stealth Charge, inflicting 4,215. Well, that's the stat. So inflicting X to the final target. While in rage, you gain 30% damage and 40% life steal. So let's see what this looks like, and let's actually. So yeah, I want to do that before I get the ability 11. That's one of the reasons why I just left it like that. Um, all right, I need to definitely need to do something with that. Hmm, I'll try that for the time being. Well, see, the thing is, it's like, to answer your question, Jettison C4. So when they start working a lot of these legacy batches, and they do these massive reworks, part of it is looks like they want to do an ability 11 for it. So yeah, so it's gonna be in work now that I actually got like the bots that I want to use on the con side. They say I can offload pictures and videos to free up memory, and it will help. Now I do need to go in there and do some stuff to clean my memory and stuff like that. But like that's actually most of the problem I've been having has actually been like specifically with just the test server. Like the stream and everything runs fine, everything else is running fine. But I do need to go in there and clean this stuff up eventually. So let's see. So some of the thought process here was for him to, if he's gonna be a tank, just let him be a really, really high damage tank. So, and it's cool because while he's in that enraged state, you can see that, he takes down some stuff pretty fast, and you can see the little enraged indicator. But the key thing for me, especially with it being like a higher damage bot, is man, it's relatively cheap. But man, like I mean, for a warrior class bot, dude, he's really packing a punch in here. I think it's pretty neat because you got a lot of damage you're doing on first impact, but then just you're getting a little bit more as a little bit more damage than normal from that enraged ability. And that's one thing I didn't do. I didn't do this survey while I was on here, but I'll probably talk about it after I actually look at it. I ain't necessarily got to do that today. But yeah, to your point, they're looking at doing legacy combats, and I mean they should do. I mean they should. My only fear when we start doing legacy stuff is if there's something that I actually liked already, and it gets messed up. But most of the time, I think for the most part, they've been doing pretty good. All right, so enrage effects are all doubled, and your charge now deals damage in a small area. So that's what we're looking at. Obviously, this is an all-in work, so it could change. But 60% damage, 80% life steal, 80% attack speed and movement speed. All right, let's try it out. Lou Mega's been sitting on Headstrong for, what does it say, 8 months? Like once you get to the point where that's the only, and you know that's the only one that's in your batch, Barry, you just open it. I didn't go backwards into that batch at all. Well, I went backwards into the batch, but I was really just going in there to get run them up. So, you know, when I went and got run them up, which is red alert for you guys on the Autobot side, um, I left the batch. And dude, like the team I was in at the time, they was like, "What? Why are you leaving them there like that? You need them." And I was like, "I got maxed out. I got maxed out bludgeon." And they said, "No, it's not the same. You need it to be headstrong." I was like, "Nah, I don't." And then I spent the whole day just kind of talking about it. But nah, I was just like, but yeah, I mean, shoot, if you need them, go in there and get them. Yeah, man. And I think like Dale asked me before we even started testing, he was like, "Hey, what do I think will make this real good?" And it's kind of hard because in your mind you always get used to the bot just not being that good. But so far from what I've seen, it looks pretty good. I say when Dale and I first talked about it, he was saying he wanted them to be, really, really good damage dealer for a warrior class bot. And so far, from a concept standpoint, that's exactly what he's pulled off. And it's going to open up some stuff because what I imagine is going to happen, you go up there, use the Leech core on this dude or something like that, and you can go up there and not worry about getting hacked or used. Well, I think we still got to add some combats to it. But if you find a way to not get hacked, you can kind of carry this dude forward into like MDS and stuff like that. But yeah, I was starting to say melee combats, but then I was like, yeah, then you get the whole drift thing with drift having the swords and stuff like that. So nah, I can't hold the melee types. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I say I always forget about it, especially being on the con side. But so far so good. I'm gonna keep testing it as it gets closer. I'll release a video about him with the finalized version and everything like that. But all right, guys. Thanks for joining the stream today. Like I said, I will be back on Wednesday. So next Wednesday, come here, not Thursday. Next Wednesday at 6. Um, and I'll see you guys there, and I will also see you on the battlefield. Freezy is out.